Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Erma Lestari. So for today, I would like to present my classroom action research proposal entitled Improving Student Speaking Skill of Descriptive Text Using Guessing Game of the 10th grade students at SMA 6 Banjarmasin in academic year 2022-2023. So without any further ado, let's we move to the chapter 1. So we here in the chapter 1, in the introduction part, we have in background of the study. Speaking is the one of the most difficult aspects for the students to master. This is because one has to consider everything involved in speaking. They are such as ideas, what to say, language, how to use grammar, and vocabulary, pronunciation, as well as listening and write to people with whom you communicate. Every foreign language learners can confirm how difficult it is to speak it. So therefore, the teachers need strategies to convey lessons easily so students do not get bored to learn. So based on the curriculum in the teaching speaking of 10th grade of SMA Negeri 6 Banjarmasin, there are some type should be mastered by the senior high school students. One of them is the descriptive text. But in reality, there are still many students who have not mastered of descriptive text. Students still confuse how to describe something and their vocabulary is low. So they have been trouble in choosing the vocabulary. So one of the methods that can be used to improve speaking skill, especially in descriptive text, is guessing game. So improving students' speaking skill through the game is the effective for them to feel relaxed when the teaching learning process begins. Game also help to encourage many learners to sustain their interest and work. Also, games also help the teacher to create context in which the language is useful and meaningful. So there are many games to teach speaking, but not all of them effective. Sometimes it can make students feel bored if the game is not interesting. So here, the researcher use a different game, that is a guessing game, which needs interaction among of a group of people. This game has a simple rule for them. So student speaking problem can be solved by giving a lot of change to them for practicing English either in the classroom or out of the classroom. So practicing English, speaking English in the classroom should be interested with appropriate activities in order to make student speaking skill can be improved and process of learning can be enjoyable. So based on the problem above, the classroom teacher and the researcher would like to improve students' speaking skill by conducting action research by using the guessing game. By integrating playing and learning, they practice the learn linguistic knowledge in a meaningful context. So, therefore, this classroom action research is conducted to investigate if the guessing game can improve the student speaking skill of descriptive text at the 10th grade of SMA Negeri 6 Banjarmasin in academic year 2022 and 2023. Okay, the next is the research question. So for my research question is how is the improvement of using the guessing game to improve student speaking skill of descriptive text at the 10th grade of SMA Negeri 6 Banjarmasin in academic year 2022 and 2023? And here is the objective of the study is to describe the improvement of student speaking skill in descriptive text by using a guessing game. So we move to the chapter 2, the theoretical review. So we have the definition of the speaking. Shakur 1987, speaking is a complex skill because at least it is concerned with the components of pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary, and fluency. Speaking is an act that is done naturally by people in their life. Sometimes they share the problem with someone they believe in, and they have the freedom to express what they want to say. So, in a simple way, we can say that the speaking is an act where the people can express their idea, their opinion, and then they also can express what they want to say. All right, so we have aspect of speaking. According to the Brown 2003, there are several traits in a speaking, such as pronunciation, fluency, vocabulary, grammar, and comprehensibility. The next is teaching speaking. So English teaching learning process in a senior high school is based on the school-based curriculum. So according Murcia 2001, there are some activities in the teaching English speaking that can be implemented in the classroom. They are discussion, role play, conversation, and communication and games. The next is descriptive text. So descriptive text is the text that describes a person, thing, and a certain place. And then the purpose of the descriptive text is to describe what things are as they are or what things do as they do. So in descriptive text, there are also any general structure. So they are divided into 2 points. The first is identification and the second one is description. So identification is a general opening statement in the first paragraph. Usually identification contains about identifies the phenomenon to be described. And then for the description, it's a series of paragraphs about the subject. And usually it contains about describe a part, characteristic, or qualities of the something that want to be described. So we have games. According to Richard, game in a language teaching is an organized activity that usually has the following properties. A particular task or object, a set of rules, competition between players by spoken or written language. So here is advantages and disadvantages of the game. So for the advantages of using game in a language learning are game or welcome break from the usual routine of the language class. They are also motivating and challenging, and then they promote communicative competence. So for the disadvantages of using the game, or it takes a long time to prepare and is it difficult to organize in the classroom. So the next is guessing game. Guessing game is a game in which the participants complete individually or in teams to identify something that indicate obscurely. According to the Webster 2001, in the teaching speaking through guessing game, students are expected to be involved positively in the speaking class activity. They are much encouraged to think what they want to say. So therefore, games can help the student in building a good relationship with their friends as well as in increasing their achievement in learning English. For the scope of this study was specified only to find out the improvement of using the guessing game to improve student speaking skill of descriptive text at the 10th grade of the SMA Negeri 6 Banjarmasin in the academic year 2022 and 2023. Alright, so we move to the chapter 3, research method. So we have setting of the study. So the researcher conducted the research at SMA Negeri 6 Banjarmasin. This is why the researcher chose this school, because the school has a communicative teacher, so the researcher and the teacher can communicate easily. Also, the student of this school need more interactive activity in their teaching learning process, so they have difficulties in their speaking ability, where almost of students can produce their opinion or their mind because teaching learning process of speaking skill is not maximum. And then for the population and the sample, the populations of this research were all of the students from the 10th grade of SMA Negeri 6 Banjarmasin. Meanwhile, in this research, the researcher used 33 students from 231 students of the 10th grade in the SMA Negeri 6 Banjarmasin as a sample. So the sample of this research was the student in the class 10 that were consisted of 33 students. Why the researcher chose this class for this sample? Because the observation reveals that the student in this class has a great enthusiasm in English, especially encounter new things. For example, when they know that will taught by the researcher in speaking class, they will be happy. They more enthusiastic. Okay, this is the focus of the study. There are 3 focus of the study: the student, teacher, and teaching learning process. So the first is the student as the subject of the study that can be seen from the student's activity in the teaching learning process. And then the second one is the teacher. So focus of the study is the teacher's way in constructing teaching learning condition using guessing game. And for the last one is the teaching learning process. So focus on the studies on the improvement of students' speaking skill of descriptive text in the teaching learning process by using guessing game. So research design. In this study, the researcher uses classroom action research as an effort to develop English teaching learning process and to solve the problem faced by the student in the learning English and to improve student speaking skill in descriptive text. So for the research design, so the researcher adapted to the chemist and MC Tegard, where there are 4 steps in the classroom action research. The first is the planning, the second is action, the third is observation, and the fourth is the reflection. And then for the source of the data, the researchers get the data from the headmaster to get further information about school and the school curriculum, and then the teacher who gave some further instructional information, such as teaching material, learning assessment, and teaching method applied in the 10th grade of the SMA Negeri 6 Banjarmasin. And then the data get from the school documents, such as the data of the teacher and the students, lesson schedule, and student exercise book. The next is collaborator. Collaborator is a person who helped the researcher to collect the data. So the collaborator in this research is English-speaking lecturer who teaches speaking at 10th grade of SMA Negeri 6 Banjarmasin. He is Mr. Solihin Salam SPD. Technique of data collection. In this research, the researcher gathered the data to support a book. The researcher chose some of which are appropriate to her school environment and can be done there. So the technique and the method which are used by the researcher to collect the data are the observation, the task, and the documentation. And then for the instrument of the research, in this study, the researcher used observation checklist, documentation, and the test. So here we have data analysis. In scoring the student performance, there are 5 aspects of the language score. They are pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. Data from oral test was analyzed from the student's performance, recording the student performance since the test is done oral test. The researcher recorded to the student performance to prevent from lapse scoring the language item criteria to be scored. Okay, for the indicator of achievement, there are 4 components in one cycle for doing classroom exam research. It is consisting of planning, acting, observing, and reflecting. This classroom exam research is arranged into 3 activities. They are preliminary research, cycle 1, and cycle 2. For the first steps is the preliminary research. So the researcher got information students' ability in speaking language, English language, based on the result of the observation from Mr. Solihin Salam SPD as an English teacher in the 10th grade of SMA Negeri 6 Banjarmasin. For the cycle 1, the teacher used guessing game to teach speaking. So the procedure is the planning, action, observation, and reflecting. And then for the second cycle or cycle 2 is done based on the result of reflecting from the first cycle. And then the procedure is the same as before. They are planning, action, observation, and the reflecting. So I think this is the end of my presentation about the classroom action research proposal. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.